is up, Internet? Do you trust me?
Fuck no.
My name is Matthew Kroll, and this is the only podcast about movies, specifically the film American Made. Now, just so you know, straight up, what you might have heard was not two Shahirs pitched up and down. Shahir could not be here today, sadly, due to his hatred of Tom Cruise. No, I'm kidding. He had very important things to do. So, two very old friends of mine who have helped me through many aspects of my life thus far are now going to help me through this film. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'd like to introduce to you Red and Anastasia. What's up, everybody?
Hello, and thank you for having us.
Hey.
Yeah. So, Red, you are the VFX editor over at Sikelia Pictures.
That is.
And you have been on the show before. You've done live panels with us.
Yes, I have, and they're fun.
Yeah,
the panels.
The shows are terrible. The shows are garbage.
Terrible. I would never do it. I just do it for the live panels.
Yeah. Well, the live panels are good. Hopefully, we're doing one at MagFest coming up in January.
That sounds great. I'm excited.
That's the plan currently. And Anastasia, you are a Alexander Technique instructor.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's
yes,
correct.
I did it. What exactly is that?
The Alexander Technique teaches people to let go of extra tension in their bodies so that they can have better posture and less pain and better performances.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, we were just having this is sort of an interesting transition. We were having a discussion before we started talking about basically the idea of older actors playing younger roles.
Yeah.
And how it's very apparent and more so, I think, to you, Anastasia, the physicality behind a performance, even if you're changing their face digitally or blah, 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 that sort of has to be very specific.
Yeah.
And I feel like we might get a little bit into that in this Tom Cruise vehicle, American Made. It was a look. This is why I wanted to do this film. Pretty much, we'd been doing not necessarily serious pieces definitely pieces with serious angles to them, even if they were somewhat silly or even meant to be comical for the last couple episodes. And I was like, I just need it. I know it's the beginning of October and we're not getting the cream of the cinematic crop.
This is where the industry puts movies to die.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do something that looked fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Or had looked like it had the potential to be fun.
Yeah.
So American Made was coming out. The last Tom Cruise movie I saw was The Mummy.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Did either of you see The Mummy?
No, I didn't.
No. You could not pay me to see the dark verse.
Oh my God. The dark universe is the dumbest thing. I mean,
Maybe though, we'll have Abbott and Costello meet Tom Cruise.
I mean, that would be really fun.
I would enjoy that.
Who would now play Abbott and Costello?
It's probably just CG at this point.
Yeah,
right?
it's just all
hire ILM to make Abbott and Costello.
So it'll be Grand Moff Tarkin as Abbott and Princess Leia as Costello.
Perfect. Done.
We did it.
I saw it. We fixed it.
Yay! Well, this has been the only podcast about American Made.
Thanks for having us.
But yeah, so. Actually, just to start, I know Shahir actually had a question. Shahir wrote into his own podcast because he couldn't be here.
Oh, yeah.
And something I did want to kind of bring up very quickly before we get into this film itself is sort of the Tom Cruise, would the word be oeuvre? Or the Tom Cruise cinematic universe?
Tom Cruise cinematic universe. Oh, there's a challenge for all of your listeners out there.
Okay.
If they can establish a continuity between all of Tom Cruise's films existing inside of the same universe, I would be really interested in reading that. And moreover, if we could make a movie about it.
Okay, well, we can definitely, I guarantee you we have listeners that will do that.
Okay, thank you.
So if you'd like to do that, dear listener, you can send in your insanely long conspiracy theory / Oscar-winning screenplay to onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter at onlymoviepod. And you can find us at our website, onlymoviepodcast.com, where all of our stuff is posted. iTunes reviews, by the way, please keep them coming. We've had a couple in the past coming weeks, and you people are lovely. So please give us as many stars as you can spare in these hard times. But Shahir's message, that's the important part. Just so we have it clear, and I've said it multiple times, Shahir's message is the important part.
I hear it loud and clear. Everything that Shahir wrote is what we're going to discuss explicitly.
Right. He didn't trust me. He didn't trust me to run the show.
To watch a movie and talk about it.
No, I can't do it. So here we go. He apologizes for not being able to be here with us today. He didn't get a chance to see American Made, but thought he'd ask a couple questions in regards to his preconceptions about the film. He asks us this, first of all. What do you think are the characteristics of the Tom Cruise movie persona that have contributed to his sustainable ubiquity as a box office draw card? Wow, a lot of 3 or 4 point words there, Shahir. They could have just said what makes Tom Cruise popular. But it's okay. He's not here to defend himself, and he's much smarter than me. Does American Made, he asks, reinforce or subvert that persona? Lady, gentleman, I put this to the floor. Do you think, before we even talk a little like in specifics about this film, do we think this helped, hurt, or kept status quo the oeuvre of Tom Cruise?
Okay, so this is just my opinion, which is obviously correct. But Tom Cruise has an incredible boyish smile that carries him through almost every film that we like with Tom Cruise in it. I mean, I really think it's not so much Tom Cruise, but more his smile and his charm and his kind of a American boy next door kind of approach to things, or when he plays against it, like in Tropic Thunder.
Right.
But that's only because we know who Tom Cruise is.
Yeah.
So I'd have to say this film only continues it, because I felt like I was watching Tom Cruise just smile and charm his way through as Tom Cruise the entire time.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing. I was going to say charisma is really the thing that carries him through everything. In one word, if you wanted to use one word instead of your whole sentences. And he's very charismatic, and that's not only him going through the film, but also his character just sort of survives on his charisma as well.
Right.
And I would argue it probably strengthened it. I mean, he's had a few kind of questionable moments in PR.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Questionable.
I don't know. I mean, definitely not anything religious of nature, or
no, it's not a religion. See, that's the mistake everybody makes. Okay. But in addition, I'd say, I don't know, The Mummy, as we discussed, he was not outside of his role, but it was more like he wasn't as charming.
Well, here's the deal with The Mummy, real quick. The Mummy is a film that I forgot so quickly after I saw it in the theater. I don't remember if we did an episode about it. I was trying to be like, go back and listen to our Mummy episode in my brain, and I'm like, wait, we probably didn't do one. Like, so it might exist. Go check that out, dear listeners. I think Tom Cruise, he is of he's a dying breed, and I'm neither happy nor upset about that. He's a actor whom is, as you both sort of have stated, through sheer charisma and not of characters he plays, but his charisma is so just potent, it bleeds through any character he's doing.
It's kind of like a Cary Grant problem.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of performers out there that have that either gift or problem.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I would say, I'm trying to think of another jack of all trades sort of actor out there. And the first person that comes to mind is Hugh Jackman. Now, Hugh Jackman, I don't always see Hugh Jackman in the roles that he plays or the things that he does. I can kind of get lost in various characters that he's done, especially like in The Prestige and in a couple other things like that. Whereas every Tom Cruise movie I've ever seen, for better or worse, and again, I'm not saying this is a good or bad thing for an actor to have, but you do every once in a while get taken out, even if you're enjoying the hand pull of being removed from a story, of Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise. Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
He's great in it, but it's still Tom Cruise as a vampire.
Yeah.
And you're taken out of that sort of moment. In fact, the only film of his that he's been in that I can think of that I wasn't like, Tom Cruise, you scamp, let me go back to the story, was Jerry Maguire. And that's because he was kind of just playing him. And so the character just meshed with who he was really well.
Yeah. And in Jerry Maguire, there was actually a lot of charisma in that cast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
so that's another thing. I mean, he's up against, if you put Tom Cruise in a room with, say, Kevin Spacey, I think we might be able to start disappearing into the characters a little bit, because they both have that same kind of level. But if it's Tom Cruise by himself, then it's the Tom Cruise Show.
Well, this movie should have been subtitled The Tom Cruise Show.
I thought it was.
Yeah, the Tom Cruise story of a Tom Cruise show. And then this is just sort of really quick, and this will actually put us right back into the film itself. The second question that Shahir poses, because you can never have just one.
No.
Is
it a multiple part question?
I think it's just two different questions. Okay. I think we answered the first one. The second one is the story of Barry Seal, the main character whom Tom Cruise plays in this film, has been told a few times, and most notably as a part of the Cocaine Cowboys documentaries. Does this film illuminate anything further about how the cocaine trade exploded and how Colombia's Medellin cartel infiltrated the U.S. market? Does the film offer any broader perspectives on what we knew about the cocaine that came into America, or is it more of a small slice of a bigger story? And he thanks us and hopes we have a great show. The short answer is no, it does not.
Yeah.
With an addendum of, in order to answer that, we would have to actually watch those documentaries, which we tried to do. We made it like 3 minutes in of giggling before we turned it off.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I put it up. She did not.
I'm not familiar at all, so I don't know.
Well, they're available to watch on Netflix. There's two of them available to watch on Netflix, and they are done in the tone of like the pre-Vice documentaries. It's got that kind of style going on. It's like investigative plus video journalism, stock footage going on.
So it's an older feeling documentary.
It is an older
style,
feeling.
And it's a little bit like.
It's a little too.
Wait, what is it exactly like? Okay, I just wanted, for those of you who can't see it, is there's hands, there's jazz hands, yes, waving. Okay. Theater people. No. We love theater people. We wouldn't be here without them.
Here, don't we? We have film, theater, and television.
Yeah, listen, we got it all.
That's great.
Not at all. Shahir, we miss you, pal. Thank you for writing into your own show. You are missed, and we're looking forward to next week when you are back talking Blade Runner.
Yeah. Oh, God. I'm so jealous you guys are going to be talking about Blade Runner without me.
So you write in. Do what Shahir did.
Oh, yeah.
And write in an outline of what you want us to talk about.
I should do that. You know. Oh, God. It's brilliant. Oh.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about some stuff that's under the hood, because most of the stuff we're going to be talking about, honestly, is Tom Cruise for American Made.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I'm going to back up. History with the man, Tom Cruise. Again, I was like, this is the other thing. I've always been like, oh, Tom Cruise, beloved American actor. Like, of course, everyone, he's great in everything. And then we're sort of, as you sort of think about it, I think it's the charisma issue that we're talking about. He puts off this wave of like everything he does is wonderful. But like, I was going through the list of like sort of my favorite Tom Cruise movies, and I was thinking Jerry Maguire. I was thinking Tropic Thunder, where he just plays against type.
Right.
And I was thinking Edge of Tomorrow, even though those are all a little bit more recent.
Right. Those are the most kind of recent. Tropic Thunder was like 9 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
So we can't really even say that was like recent, but yeah.
Like, so that's kind of my like history of like, and obviously Top Gun and Days of Thunder, like those are cool they were cool.
Can I stop with the Top Gun thing?
Yeah.
Was he in Top Gun by the time the end of this movie happens? Like, historically full circle?
What year did Top Gun happen? The end of this movie, it was in 1986.
So then, yes.
Yeah. Here we are.
What? This is the Tom Cruise connected universe.
Cinematic universe. And especially in the days of Rick and Morty, I feel as though creative listeners of this show could probably come up with a way to tie all this stuff together.
Get in the plane, Tom. Just get in the plane.
So many Ricks and Mortys at Comic-Con. Comic-Con was this weekend in New York.
I cannot imagine.
So many of them. Harley Quinn's still very prominent. I thought they would die down. They don't. But yeah, those are probably the two biggest costumes. Not a lot of Tom Cruise. A lot of Tom Cruise cosplays going on.
Cosplay.
Someone did, and listeners, if you're into the cosplay at all, someone did cosplay as Comic-Con, aka the Javits Center, in the Javits Center hosting Comic-Con this year.
Oh, that's
they were
cool.
the building, and it was really wonderful. So check out that picture if you haven't. What about the two of you? Like, as far as Tom Cruise, like. We've talked about how we think he survived. Let's talk about your personal opinions of him, his performances, and just in general.
Want to start?
Sure. I mean, he's not somebody who I go to a movie to see him in, but he's also not somebody who I roll my eyes when I'm going to see a movie. So for me, he's sort of middle of the line. Like, I don't love him. I don't hate him.
He checks a lot of boxes, but not like specific ones.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
The last thing that I saw him in was Edge of Tomorrow, which I actually really loved. I thought was a very appropriate use of the Tom Cruise in a film.
Also a Lyman picture too, right?
Yeah. I was going to talk about that in a bit. They video game the shit out of that, and I think that's so interesting in the ye old medium of film to do that sort of idea and use it as a mechanic. Also, I'd say the weakest part of Edge of Tomorrow was actually their marketing campaign and how they called it in half of the marketing live, die, repeat. That got the most confusing. If you looked on cabs or posters, it said live, die, repeat in huge letters, and then Edge of Tomorrow if it even said it at all.
Colossal mistake.
Yeah, and to the point where people that were programming on demand things would just call it live, die, repeat, starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt or whatever.
Meanwhile, my mother's waiting for live, die, repeat to release in the theaters, and it's
never going to happen.
She's still waiting.
So I found that to be the worst part of that film, which is saying a lot because I loved that film. Like I just wished they were a little bit more clear with their advertising.
But I didn't see it until it came on Netflix, and then I was like, why have I never heard of this before?
Yeah, so that's probably there's a little bit to do with that. I think. What about you? Hey, how you like Tom, buddy?
Well, my relationship with Tom goes way back.
Ooh.
Way back. When I think of Tom Cruise, the first thing I think of is Risky Business. The tidy whities that established it was okay for me to wear them.
Let's all just put all of our cards on the table. Anytime we've ever been in a home with a staircase and a hardwood floor hallway in front of it, has everyone at least at one point in their life done the slide?
Absolutely.
No.
What the? I have. Okay, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
So, but if I'm going to do a slide, it's going to be more like a running forward and skidding thing. And I do that constantly, but not in my underwear and not with a stairwell.
There's very specific things, Anastasia, to this exercise.
Yeah. I own Ray-Ban sunglasses only because Tom Cruise had them.
Yeah.
I don't own Ray-Ban sunglasses.
In fact, I only own aviator glasses specifically because Tom Cruise had them.
We're getting into your so you
so as you can see, growing, and I think Shahir and I will probably have the same kind of relationship with Tom Cruise because we're closer in age in that sense. And it's Risky Business. It's Top Gun. It is the laughable wannabe Top Gun that is Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
Which it really was just Top Gun again, right? That's all I remember as a kid seeing it. I was like, this is Top Gun without the cool.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not going to shit on anybody who likes.
And then my favorite performance is Tropic Thunder, I think.
Yeah. Which is so strange. And do you think the reason that Tropic Thunder stands out, not only did he do a great job with, was it Les Goodsman?
Harvey Weinstein?
Oh, he's having a week, / a life / what the fuck, dude. Side note, let's talk about Weinstein real quick.
Okay, Shine, let's just end my career. Let's do it.
This is all I'm going to say. This is all I'm going to say. I was not shocked.
Well, no, that's the thing. It was kind of like a big open secret.
Yeah. Look, it's
the Times actually had a really good write-up about it, saying that nobody would ever come to actually go on record because there was this pervasive culture of permissiveness of this kind of behavior, not only to Harvey. See, this is where we kind of are going wrong. We're drilling down on one man for completely inappropriate behavior when really we should be drilling down on a whole series of men for inappropriate behavior. And a lot of them are going to get a pass because this one guy is going to get
That's fair. That's that's a super interesting point because it's literally like, okay, this guy is now in a shit ton of trouble for doing an awful thing that will now blind the rest of because I think what we've learned in society in general is that when wrongs are done, we want a narrative to be put in place where we've righted the wrong and everything's fine without doing the work.
We elected a black president, so we're in a post-racial America.
Sure,
it's the same idea. We do this one thing, and then we're like, oh, okay, problem
everything's
fixed.
great, and then when all of a sudden it becomes blaringly obvious that things are not fixed, we're like, but we
totally fixed it.
We fixed it.
It's the Russians.
Thanks, Obama. No, I meant Obama. Come back. Anyway, we've spiraled a bit. So Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise. So that's my relationship with him. And as far as movies are concerned, I don't know. I see a Tom Cruise movie come out, and the only thing that plays in my head is the GIF or GIF, however you describe it.
It's GIF on this show, and in all things that are good, it is GIF.
I just didn't want to alienate your one listener who believes it's GIF.
Nope, I will alienate. Sorry, Phil.
Or Pill.
Man.
Your choice.
Wow.
Your choice.
Wow.
But I only see that one of him just electrocuting as the Emperor Oprah. So that's all I see now when there's a Tom Cruise movie coming out.
Yeah.
It takes away all of my risky business tighty whities and my favorite. Did I ever even watched all of Top Gun all the way through? I'm not entirely
I don't know.
sure.
I mean, I just get to the volleyball scene and then I'm good.
Yeah, pretty much. That finishes.
So Tom Cruise, Sith Lord confirmed.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So Doug Liman,
Yes.
director of this film, director of American Made.
Yes.
He's one of those guys that I forget I like most of his stuff.
Yeah, that's a thing, right?
He's not like a Edgar Wright or like I mean, you go that Spielberg obviously is the name that everyone sort of drops to be like director. But like this guy's done. He did Swingers. He did Go. He did Mr. and Mrs. Smith, The Bourne Identity, which I did enjoy, despite the fact it gave us shaky cam for the rest of my life in fight scenes, and Edge of Tomorrow, which we discussed.
Yeah.
Live, Die, Repeat.
If at the very least, Lyman is really good at exploring the boundaries of his medium and then showing people what is possible and permissible. And, you think about the movies that came out after all of those movies that you mentioned, and they all are giving nods to something that he's tried or that his crew has tried in those films.
Yeah. And again, like I bring up the shaky cam because it's the thing that's easily sort of that I remember that I didn't like.
Yeah.
And we all know that human beings' brains are programmed to remember the negatives more than the positives because that is technically evolutionarily the way to stay alive.
Like cats.
But the cats are the positives, Red.
No. Cats only remember the negatives and they're evil.
No, but
This
they're
went
the
off.
best.
So I love
on.
cats.
Okay. All right.
Haven't seen the musical. One day. I've heard it's very nonsensical, much like cats themselves. Tom Cruise stars in the film adaptation of Cats. Maybe listen, I'll take a cut of that if that ever comes out because that you heard it here first. That'll make
idea patent pending.
It'll make over 30,000 American dollars. Well, actually, let's get into it real quick. Speaking of money and all the money that Tom Cruise would make as is there a cat in that thing called Cicero?
I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I've also never seen Cats.
Okay.
Worst theater person.
Oh, well, someone is no longer in authority. Okay, American Made. Here we go. As of, I believe, yesterday, October 8th.
Right.
It's only made around $30 million.
Is that true?
That's what it's saying. That's Box Office Mojo.
Domestic.
Let's see.
Now, here's my question to you.
Yes.
Did it release simultaneously domestic and international? Because Tom Cruise is the kind of guy
who would do that.
Who a studio would put into an international release first, a domestic release second, or a simultaneous kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, on Box Office Mojo, it's actually telling me right now that foreign, and I don't know if it came out at the same time, but I'm guessing it did, is actually 68 million, knocking the full. Yeah, the domestic total was 30, so the worldwide is closing in at almost 100 mil at $98.5 million.
So what does this tell you?
This tells me that people outside of the United States really still chomp at the bit for a cruising. They're cruising for a bruising.
Yeah, they love Tom Cruise.
Yeah, the budget for this film was 50 mil. Okay. Wow. So this is falling. Wow. Who'd have thought that Tom Cruise and World of Warcraft, the film, would have such a tie together?
Well, we also have to think about certain other factors. This is rated R.
Yeah,
this is very adult, and I'm thinking to myself, how did this movie even get made? On the heels of The Mummy, same studio distributing.
I would be curious if this film was finished first and they pushed it back.
I'm thinking there was a little handshaking going on.
Yeah,
you do this picture, we get to do this picture. You distribute both.
Yeah,
that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah,
so I think there's an anticipation, being that we're releasing in October, that it wasn't going to do very well, purely based on crunching the numbers of who goes sees R-rated movies versus who goes sees Tom Cruise pictures, and I think they're expecting a bit of a knockoff.
Yeah, I think they look. Hollywood's very good at figuring out its numbers, and when it doesn't,
you'll read about it in Variety.
Yeah. So I think they knew exactly. I think they knew, and this sort of gets into. We'll start into a little bit of my first thoughts here before I give you the IMDb breakdown of what this film was about.
I've been waiting for that.
It's a film that I don't think they ever really had. I was about to say any expectation for it. That sounds more negative than I mean for it to sound. It's like they knew it was a middle of the run movie. If they release a middle of the run movie in late September, early October, it'll probably do really well. All things considered.
All things considered, what else it would be up against.
And then it would be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway,
My Little Pony, the movie.
Cool. Well, don't count that out. I bet you that made a ton of money.
But you know what it doesn't have?
What?
Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Well, yet. Give it time.
Oh, right.
Okay. Movie description, IMDb. Here we go. The story of Barry Seal, an American pilot who became a drug runner for the CIA in the 1980s in a clandestine operation that would be exposed as the Iran-Contra affair. Well.
Yeah, not a bad summary. Kind of does an end run, I think.
No, yeah. Thanks for the plot.
Yeah. And more importantly, that really, like, the exposing the Iran Contra thing doesn't even happen in the film. It's alluded to later.
Yeah.
After the fact. It's post-text.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, fine. All right.
Drug running.
Acceptable.
Yeah.
So while we don't have a bunch of cocaine in the studio for once, Anastasia and Red were kind enough to bring we're drinking in style this fine morn, or I guess it's afternoon. I don't know, what time is it? We are drinking lovely Bellinis. We have some peach juice and some champagne. So thank you both very much for. See, Shahir doesn't bring nice alcoholic beverages.
Remember who brings you gifts?
Yeah, of course. This is how hands, palms, if you will, are greased. So, my initial thoughts of this thing while I drink this delicious Bellini. Look, it's fun. It's fluffy fun, even though it's about drug cartels and murder. It really is. Tom Cruise actually coined a phrase about this movie that I really think hits the nail on the head. He said it was a fun lie based on a true story. That's what he pitched the movie as.
Yeah.
It's great. Because you get it, and this guy was real. But like we talked about while we answered Shahir's question, this film is not meant to shed any light on the actual man's life.
This is not fact-based.
Yeah.
No.
And from here on out, Bobby Seale will now be seen
as Tom Cruise,
which it's pretty good.
For him, yeah.
Yeah, for him, yes. So let's go into, I did enjoy it overall. One thing I will say, Red, you obviously being a VFX editor and a very good editor in general, what did you think about the editing of this film?
I thought it was really present, to be honest.
Present in a good way?
That's the thing. I was conflicted, and I wanted to see it twice. I didn't get the opportunity to see it twice, but I was very aware of it, but it wasn't killing me. I thought it was, again, possibly one of the Lyman choices that I'm going to later be like, oh, everybody's going to start doing it now.
Sure.
Did it hurt me? I don't think it hurt me. I think it helped establish a certain tenor for the film that I followed.
Yeah. And I actually, in the early portions of the film, there's a lot of more quick editing and interspersing of a lot of more period looking video and animation and that sort of thing. And it's very present. Like, it's not the sort of thing that you're not going to be really aware of at the time.
You notice it, yeah.
Yeah. But it established period for me in a way that I thought was useful. And especially as somebody who was alive during the period where this was, it reminded me of all the stuff from my childhood, and it conjured it for me in a way that I thought was very effective, actually.
Yeah, it's actually a huge nod to Cesar Charlone, the director of photography.
Okay.
I didn't like it, but that isn't to say it wasn't good, because it was good. I just didn't like it.
You are giving me the mother answer, or mother, as we were calling it, and I appreciate that.
I found myself, to continue with your mother, I found myself challenged, but it was provoking. So I suppose in that sense, it was good. The color timing was this wonderful VHS super saturation.
Yes. Yeah, that was done.
Kodak Polaroid, Kodak Vivid, or the Polaroid, and I was like, oh, that's. At first, I was like, oh, is this going to be a gimmick and fade away? No, it stayed there the entire time. But moreover, there was always these choices of let's do a close up with a telephoto lens. Mm-hmm. Or let's put on a wide,
right,
and let's just smash back and forth between those two.
Yeah,
and there was a snap zoom every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I felt like
I like a good snap zoom.
I felt like we were going for a camcorder, and I was like, that's right. That's okay. There was shakiness. There was unevenness, because sometimes we'd be rock solid on those wides, and then by nature of a telephoto, but also the camera operator was adding a little extra something there on the telephoto close-ups,
Right.
And there would traditionally be a close-up of a person with a foreground object being kind of smashed up against them, and that's it. Think of like the hangar scene.
Yeah.
I thought it was effective because it established a tone. I felt feeling a period without having to be like, this is period.
Yeah. Even though they threw numbers on the screen to let us know what year it was constantly.
Oh, yeah.
So what I'm hearing from both of you, and I'm not disagreeing with anything, but hot take, I'm gonna, is...
What?
I know. A lot of the pros that you've both just said, not all of them, have to do with the cinematography.
Yeah.
The one thing, actually, Anastasia, that you said that I had not thought of and agree with entirely was, so I first of all, I'll set this up and then I'll get back into that. I hated the first sort of like fourth of this film's editing. Again, I thought the VHS treatment and the color timing and all that sort of stuff really did help me get into the world, into the time period that they were trying to set. I thought it was too sort of disjointedly all over the place in the beginning, especially before the CIA even gets to Mr. Seal. Catches him for smuggling cigars, which actually did not happen. That was just a story
That's
thing.
not a fact?
I know. But I will say that, just even thinking about after what you just said, Anastasia, the way in which it is so haphazard, like looking back on it through the lens of adding that together with all of the looks that they were trying to give the stuff and the mechanic that they used throughout the film, and you don't really learn about where it sort of lives chronologically till the end, of Tom Cruise recording these VHS video diaries. Looking back, I think I appreciate what they were trying to do more than in the moment where I was like, what?
Well, but there's also a difference between something like what I think I said was that it was an effective device for establishing period.
Yeah.
And me liking it and finding it an enjoyable viewing experience.
Right.
I was a little uncomfortable during the beginning of the film because it was a little all over the place. But like I said, it also reminded me very much of sort of scattered things from my childhood. So I thought, this is
kind of crazy tape to tape editing.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is really evoking the period for me. That doesn't mean that I'm finding it great. And I was glad that they notched it down as they got further into the film.
Yes.
And my first thought was like, are they going to continue this? Or is this going to be like a 5-minute gimmick and then we'll get through it and then we'll be done? And I appreciated that it didn't feel like you hit like the 10-minute mark and they were like, okay, we're done with that. It continued as a sort of declining through line.
Yep.
And I thought that was pretty effective too. But it was
necessary, and mechanically it's necessary. In order to maintain tension in some of the scenes, you have to stop editing like that.
Yeah.
Yes,
and even from a story perspective, you could start fantastical, and then as your lifestyle is, and actually it did sort of spike up every once in a while.
Editing as allegory.
When they started, like, even when he was super successful, and like him and his wife were going to parties in Mexico and like all that and whatever. It was used correctly and effectively. I just don't, like we've all said, we're not sure if we like enjoyed the experience of it. It's medicine. It's medicine to get us through a thing, which is weird to say in a film like that.
Yeah, and I felt like the audience actually was with us.
Yeah.
On that, I think everybody reacted kind of universally to that.
Here's the deal. What else? Oh, so Tom Cruise, 55 years old.
Yes. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, and his wife, who I believe is played by, where did she go? Sarah Wright. Lucy Seal is 34.
Yes.
Yeah.
December, May.
So the interesting part of this for me is a couple things. Again, I think because it's Tom Cruise and I know how old he is, it always caught me off guard. But then I was like, but yeah, I still feel like 55-year-old Tom Cruise could be with a 34-year-old woman, but he's not Tom Cruise in the movie.
Yeah.
He's a different guy. He's Bobby Seale. I don't know. I mean, this is obviously
of disbelief.
This is always a thing in Hollywood movies, and I've seen it actually take a little bit of a step back, which I enjoy, like getting people in relationships to be at least somewhat within the age range. What did you
Deadpool.
both? Yeah. What did you both think about that, or did you at all?
No, I always think about
Yeah,
that.
I know she's got a strong opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let her talk.
Yeah.
And then I'll explain to her why she's wrong.
Wow.
Oh,
Here we go.
Oh, no, I mean, it bothers me. Especially because it's pretty one-sided in Hollywood, where a man can be whatever age and his love interest can be 20. And she's a little older than 20, which is okay. She's closer to being appropriate age for the film.
Yes, agreed.
And so in that sense, I'm like, okay, well, they cast her probably somewhere close to the age of the character.
Yes.
She's actually probably a little older than she's more like the older end of the character than the younger end of the character.
Sure.
So that's fine. And it's a Tom Cruise vehicle. So
Sure.
obviously he's the title character, though he did strike me. He wasn't communicating the youth of the role the way that I would have liked him to.
And that's something I was going to sort of take this and lead into. Red, don't worry. You can still attempt to.
Please. No, I'm actually not going to disagree with her. I just have to say I'm going to disagree with her to keep
So
appearances.
Being an Alexander Technique instructor.
Yeah.
Did you notice, because I've talked to you about this stuff a bunch, but just about movement of people in general. But in this particular film, do you feel like Tom Cruise was moving like what I imagine he's supposed to be around a 35-year-old man?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't find him distractingly, in terms of his movement quality, I wasn't finding him distractingly to be his age.
Sure.
And I actually think that Tom Cruise, as somebody who primarily does action movies, keeps himself physically very in young shape for the roles that he plays.
Yep.
So that's something that I applaud. He does a really good job of communicating that physically, but there wasn't a point where I looked at this character and I was like, I'm seeing a really young guy.
Right.
And it was more like, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief because I know that he's older than the character he's playing the entire time. Like, the character never catches up to the age that Tom Cruise is currently. And I would have liked to see a little bit more youth, but it wasn't distracting.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas in some places, sometimes it is distracting. And I was able to say, okay, I can go with him playing a character who's younger than him.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think for me, again, what is it about Tom fucking it's charisma? It all comes back to charisma. Why I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
It's his smile. It's that boyish smile. He's got that ear to ear smile that just evokes a certain coyness, a certain innocence.
Everything's okay.
Youthfulness.
Though I will say that in terms of like his physical performance, I didn't feel as much like he was from the region as the age. Does that make sense?
Oh,
some
as
of
far
that's
as
accent, some of that's accent, but also carriage. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt to me like it was Tom Cruise pretended to be Southern.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is starting to finally, at long last, actually feel his age.
Yeah.
A little bit. My doctor was like, nobody age. She's a very wise person. I hope.
Yeah.
But she talks about actors and this obsession with preserving youth, and you can really see a lot of the plasticular surgery bear its burden on both male and female actors as they kind of cross that 60.
Sure.
line. Tom Cruise still has this youth and kind of this unvarnished realness to him that doesn't speak to too much plastic surgery, but his face now looks a little bit more his face looks a bit more like middle-aged woman than it does young Tom Cruise.
Well, I think this part I think was great for him.
Yeah.
Because it's not an action movie.
No.
He's not hanging off planes.
No.
He's in a lot of planes. But he's
I read somewhere he did all of his own internal cabin flying.
I'm sure he did because he's
Tom Cruise.
He's Tom Cruise.
He's Tom effing Cruise. Man.
Holy shit. What a delight.
And they also played him he was played a lot in medium. Okay, there weren't a lot of wide shots. He was often played in medium and medium close-up, which allowed him a lot more performance space without showing any physicality detriment.
I think yeah, this and the role that this was, he's not hanging off planes. He's not fighting CG monsters. He's being a man who every once in a while has to exert himself physically. Yeah. And I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
Even Liam Neeson, I think we talked about this a podcast or two ago. Liam Neeson has now officially started turning down action roles. He's like something like he's almost 60 or something like that. I don't remember the exact age. He's getting Liam Neeson's older.
Did silence do it to him? I mean, we did hang him upside down for several hours.
I don't know. Hey, listen, you talk to him.
Okay.
But he's like, he turned down some other new action movie. He's like, this has to be starting to be not believable anymore. Like he said himself, he's like, I know what I physically look like. This doesn't make sense.
And yet we watched Bruce Willis remake of Death Wish trailer.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that. We can talk about that. I think that's the dumbest shit ever. I think that movie is
totally not appropriate.
It's tone deaf for the times we live in. And even if it wasn't, even if we didn't have this whole gun debate going on in the United States right now.
Or the white guy saving us from all of
or even, let's take away all of the weird, stupid, just idiotic, not only insensitivity, but just blatant disregard for the world we live. The story is fucking stupid. Why?
Death Wish was definitely a product of its time. So
you can't
watch Death Wish with Charles Bronson and be like, this is going to definitely stand the test of time.
And the trailer for this new Death Wish is literally middle-aged, like fucking, middle-aged, scared man fantasy. Because it's like,
but in some ways that is very much the feeling of the time. I mean, look at what's happening.
It's just the shitty side of it.
It's the shitty side of what's happening.
If we replace Bruce Willis with Tom Cruise,
oh no, then we almost get Collateral.
That's where I'm just.
That was actually, you know what? You know what's so funny? This is actually, we can go back to Death Wish in a second. Collateral, I didn't even think about when I was thinking about Tom Cruise movies, because I think that's one of the only films he actually transforms into a different character.
Yeah, he's totally.
I haven't seen it.
You should. Not only do they play not one, but two Soundgarden songs, or it might be the same Soundgarden song twice.
So I'm just going to cry.
Yeah. Shadow of the Sun. But it's good. And Jamie Foxx is wonderful in it.
Foxx is an incredible performer when he turns everything on.
And Tom Cruise is just not there. I mean, I can say that in a complimentary way. He is that character. He is that hitman. He doesn't, even his like coy smiles, his smiles he always sort of does are different.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. So that's very interesting. If Tom Cruise was remaking Death Wish, no. But well, first of all, I don't think he'd ever be cast in Death Wish. I just don't the farthest outside of the correct wheelhouse I think Tom Cruise has ever gone, honestly, is The Mummy. I think that he wanted his last sort of bit of like, he's thinking about, okay, like maybe, Mission Impossible's got like one more in me. Right. And these movies, these monsterish movies are going to be like, sort of like, they're going to be franchise films, and it's going to be a lot of CG, and maybe he can Robert Downey Jr. himself. Not that I think he's trying to like give up in any sense of the word, nor do I think RDJ is, but like to be Iron Man, all you got to do is put your face in a CG thing and they're going to do all the cool shit for you. And that's great.
Yeah.
Until they come back with like Iron Man 6 and it's again Iron Man 3 where he has to like run around and do a bunch of crazy shit outside of the suit. I just bottom line is I don't see Tom Cruise ever being in Death Wish. Now, if he was, I think I'd still have the same problems.
Yeah, no, I asked that question. This is my Shahir moment. I asked that question because there's a lot of what I know of Death Wish happening in this movie, where there's just a lot of forgiveness for absolutely awful things.
Yes, which brings me to my final point before I feel like this movie's the stuff. Let's say this outright, because we've talked about a little bit of the technical aspect of the film, which I think is important. We've talked about Tom Cruise, which is pretty much what the majority of the conversation should be about, because this is his vehicle. Yeah, we could talk a little bit about the more historical stuff too, but this is a film that if Tom Cruise was not in it, you would watch, enjoy, and forget.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be like, absolutely.
And I haven't forgotten it by any means of the imagination, but it's only because I think of Tom Cruise. And So that's why I don't think we're going to dive too deep into the actual film itself, like the nuts and bolts and like what happens here, there, and the other thing. It's a lot of flying. It's a lot of drug running. It's a lot of Barry Seal getting very lucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we as a society, and this is kind of what I wanted to get into, we as a society love seeing a nice guy go down a dark path and luck himself through most of it, live a glorious life, and then get shot in the face. That seems to be an arc we are very comfortable with.
It's a very American story. I mean,
Yeah.
we are our DNA is built in rebellion and alcohol smuggling and drug running. I mean, that's America, and it's
So
a weird obsession with.
So I guess my question is, and this is a difficult one for many reasons, like this story of a person doing a decent person before doing awful, horrible things that if you look past a second tier effect of what that person is doing, it's destroying lives and communities.
Same thing as Walter White. Okay,
It's the same thing as
It's
Walter
the same
White.
setup. He's in this mediocre
He
kind
just
of
doesn't have
slight
cancer.
downturn.
Yeah, he doesn't have cancer, so you don't. Yeah,
Bored with
he doesn't
everything.
he doesn't have the same motivation. Not that Walter White is an admirable character, really, in any sense at all, ever. But,
Yeah.
but he's just kind of bored with what he's doing.
But Walter
I mean,
White, the character is like, there's a sense of this is it.
yeah.
And same thing, I think, with Barry Seal. He's sitting there as a TWA pilot. He's got good health insurance. I think
he's got a smoking hot wife. He
is
falls asleep too.
Considered a very attractive wife. You know, if you like blondes, and I've just alienated like a third of the planet,
We're kidding.
or both. But
Both planets.
But both of those are like, oh God, it's so awful to be successful and white and just have this weird middle class life. I need more, and I mean that's a setup for both of them.
This is greed, and there's also, I mean, you get into the secondary bit of that where they get all this success in whatever dark shit they've waded into, and then their biggest problem is they don't have enough place to put the cash.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's so strange because there is and it becomes comedy in this film. Like they just keep stashing money a ton of places.
Well, that's that's what happens when you have a successful criminal enterprise. I mean, that is the wonderful irony that they play really well. I think to comedic effect is that it's so illegal that there's just too much.
Yeah.
We can't wash it.
So I guess I don't know. Again, I feel like I'm getting a little sick of these type of stories because they're so prominent.
Yeah.
And I do think I would be much more harsh on this story, even though it is based on a true story. And the fact that even if a fifth of this is true is hilarious. And I never want to use the term in this sort of case, unbelievable, because I believe entirely that the world is so stupid that this happened.
Oh yeah.
Like if again, the current events have shown us anything, is you can charm your way.
The thing is, what proves you so correct is that the actual comedic device that's used here for as far as audience understanding of irony is that, and this is a background plot point, but this is what drives the whole humor, is that this is the United States doing it to itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And Barry's like, I'm just a guy making some money who just delivers things on time. And that's it. And meanwhile, we're all laughing along at him exploiting the idiocy that is the United States government trying to like do its government things.
Yeah.
And that's a comedic device. And we all know it. That's why it's funny.
Sure.
You know, that just explains you have a problem with it, but at the same time, everybody, I mean, it's common comedy at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm uncomfortable in the same way that you are, Matt. Like, I don't think we need to be, because to some extent it is glorifying it. We know that he's horrible. He's doing horrible things. But we're vicariously reveling in the lifestyle that he has anyway. And in the choices that he makes, like he keeps getting caught and falling into more money. Like, you know,
oh no,
like, oh no, I've gone to jail and now you're going to give me even more money. And oh no, I've gotten caught again. But that's the way
we perceive the world to be, for sure.
That's the way. Look, I'm not going to get into too much corporate politics, but I've noticed a bit throughout my industry time that if you're super high up in a thing and you fail miserably, you are rewarded with a better job. And sure. I mean, that is a bit of a thing that happens in corporate, in crime, apparently, in government works. I think we are living in the failing up society at this point. And there has to be, you know what, though? No, I take it back. I was going to be like, there has to be a breaking point. Maybe there doesn't. Maybe we're actually living in enough of a simulation where it'll actually like keep auto-correcting itself no matter how stupid things get. It'll just keep running.
So from now on, we're just going to keep failing.
No, we're not. No. We're not high enough up on a rung to fail yet. We need to somehow get to like maybe let's say the 10th percentile.
This is where the 5-star iTunes reviews are necessary.
This is 5-star iTunes reviews help us fail up.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
And then we can start failing. I don't think I've ever been successful enough in my life through actual skill or luck to get to the point where if I failed, I would fail up.
Yeah.
So anyway, I am a bit tired of these stories.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I was trying to think of, for instance, I for whatever reason, some friends and I were talking about Star Wars and Rogue One in particular.
Imagine that.
Who would for some reason?
I would never think you would be talking about Star Wars.
Just
ever,
ever. Yeah.
Nothing.
And we were talking about the stuff that Andrew Schultz, good friend of the show, check out his new comedy special he has out on, he just released it on YouTube. I think it's called 441, where he does 4 sets on 4 clubs in one night. It's very
that's
good.
Awesome.
Very funny comedian and very smart man. He was talking about in the Rogue One episode, if you go back and listen to that, how the Empire is basically the United States. I mean, this isn't a new theory, but he poses a lot of interesting thoughts and how the rebels are basically ISIS. And if you look at, like, we're showed a lot of horrible things that the Empire does in Star Wars films. They blow up a planet. They do. I mean, that's mass murder on the biggest possible scale, but it's also far enough back where we like feel it, but we don't feel it. But like, for instance, characters like Han Solo, who are literally just making their money kind of the same way that Barry Seal does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The pluckish rogue.
The pluckish rogue. Yeah. It's okay, weirdly enough, I think, even though it's one tier better that the pluckish rogue in a sci-fi world is doing that, because we honestly don't know the goods and the bads really clearly of both sides of these Empire or the rebels involved. Like we have archetypes and we understand it, but since look, the Empire could be providing healthcare and opening Planned Parenthoods across the galaxy. We don't know the good that they're doing under their organization and grab for power. They might not be, but we don't have a concrete thing. We're in a real world scenario.
We have facts.
We're in a more interconnected world than we've ever been in.
Yeah.
We know what drugs do to a family, to a community, and it's getting harder for me to not, like, if I'm seeing like Mal Reynolds and Firefly do shit and always kind of make the right humanitarian call at the end, sure, that's fine. But when I'm watching Barry Seal just fucking run guns for the training the Contra, and especially because we have the benefit of hindsight, it's just like, whoa.
And that awful thing is our humor device.
Yeah. So is this film then the perfect mirror, not necessarily into American culture, but what has gotten us to the point where we're at and okay with watching it now, even though it's only been 40 years, watching it as a device for humor?
I think it walks up to the line of being an indictment, but it doesn't quite cross that line. I don't think it achieved it.
No, it never does. Even at the end, he still kind of wins in a way, because even though the tapes don't really go anywhere, we don't know what happens with all of his tapes. Basically, we're spoiler alert.
Are we in spoilers?
Yeah, we're 55 minutes in. We're in spoilers.
He dies.
Oh, he does die.
But it doesn't really feel like consequences. I mean,
no,
there's no.
He's smiling as he gets shot.
Yeah,
because we're doing that cross cut between the videotape.
Yeah,
that was great. The moment I loved when he got shot. America.
Can you say it for me again, just so we have it recorded? You loved it when Tom Cruise got shot.
I'll just use yours. I'll just re-record yours and put it in. That scene where he does get shot and it does that VHS sort of bleed is one of the coolest sort of transitional for that moment things that I'd seen in a long time. That stayed with me a bunch. But there's no Then it goes through the tried and true, like,
This
Lucy
this guy.
Lucy went over here and became back to Chick-fil-A or whatever the fuck. And
But
like,
she's still wearing the diamond bracelet.
yeah. So like,
I really don't think she has Chick-fil-A values.
we don't know. We don't see any character suffer for what Tom Cruise did. And because he's happy in the end of the film, even though he's going to die, that to me does not make him a character worth mourning. And I don't think, here's the deal. I don't think anyone does. I think because the way the movie times, I was like, this guy led an awesome life and did some cool shit. And he was a free spirit who had a shit ton of money. And then he got killed for it because the bad life caught up to him.
Dumbass.
Yeah.
But like, you don't get any catharsis. You don't like, again, I don't wish this on real people, but if the film, for instance, had like his family fall apart, his family never fell apart. They seem just fine.
Yeah.
His kids grow up. It's seemingly okay. I mean, I know it's the end of the film, but that we see zero consequence for what this man has done.
That's true.
Yeah.
We really do.
And maybe that's probably true. That's probably the truest part of this entire thing. But as far as a story goes, I want something that feels,
it's the film started it and then backed out of it at the end. You know, that him nervous about the car, him nervous for his casino moment, the car blowing up and killing him. And we're playing it for comedy, but like, what if they played that a little darker? What if instead we watched him just live his last days in absolute terror, and that's how he died?
Yeah.
I think that would be more true to real life. I don't think the audience would have reacted to it very well.
No.
But because as audiences, I'm not sure that we want to see the consequences for those actions as...
In general, I would agree. People don't. I do because all three of us, I think, watch enough film where we're like, yeah, we get it. Everything's fine. Oh, the semi-bad man is now semi-justified because he was clever, kind of. Cool.
Just an innocent guy trying to make a buck.
Even though he already was making a fine buck.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a...
we kind of wash over that whole thing. He was living a perfectly acceptable, if not very nice life as a pilot, doing, a little Cuban cigar smuggling. But honestly, has anybody in this room not done that?
Look, two things I did all the time in my youth was smuggle Cuban cigars and do the risky business slide in front of stairway.
Me too, thanks Tom Cruise.
Sometimes at the same time. You'd be surprised how distracting that slide can be.
I can see it's the handoff.
Sleight of hand.
Slide pass.
Sleight of hand.
That's great.
Yeah. So on one side of the stairway, in the left side of the hallway is Cuba, and the other side is the United States.
Well, that's a well-known metaphor. Yes.
Yeah. So I think we got it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have been talking about this movie for almost an hour.
Yeah.
Is there anything before we kind of just get into final thoughts that I have not sort of tossed your way or that we've glossed over that you feel? Because again, I do think it's more of an interesting thing to discuss. It's one of those films that is, other than some of the brief technical stuff we discussed in the beginning, it's more interesting to talk about the societal value of the story that's being told and how it's being told and the vehicles in which it's being told, aka Tom Cruise.
Yeah, and how literally every other character in this film is completely unimportant.
Yeah. I mean,
and we're using Pablo Escobar as a punchline. I love the celebrity claps.
Yeah.
When we were like, oh, Pablo Escobar, I know this guy.
Yeah.
Hey, that is George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Clinton's on the phone. Hell yeah, I know this guy. I lived through all of that. And I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of that, and it got me. I was like, oh yeah, that's a future Attorney General so-and-so. Oh yeah, Bill Clinton, he's the governor of Arkansas at this time. That's so funny because it's real. And
it's still sad if you think about it more than the fact that, like, they're literally, and again, not to always bring it back to the MCU, but they're literally turning the real life into the MCU.
Yeah, it was very funny. It wasn't used to give context or weight to it.
No, it was
all insignificant. Wink, wink. I still get pissed off every time I hear Nancy Reagan say, "Just say no." And that was used for the ultimate kind of irony of what's going on. He's in the White House while she's saying, "Just say no," and that's funny and everything. But I think it was decontextualized and decoupled from the actual problems of what was going on here, which was at the same time simultaneously, we're inventing a crack epidemic, this is the time of Miami Vice, the cocaine. I mean, this is a brutally violent time where we are the United States government is using drugs to essentially lock off and block a whole segment of its population, basically just another oppression technique for inner city, which is dog whistle for Black lives.
Yeah.
This is all happening. But meanwhile, we're following this like good old boy. And I don't mean that to insult any other good old boys out there. I'm sure you're wonderful people. But they were watching this good old boy just run back and forth with Pablo Escobar, the murderous son of a bitch. And we were having a great time because it was funny that this one guy who we don't even care about pisses pants at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's in some ways very troubling that they're asking us to that we are supposed to identify with the main character with Seal, with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be on board with him, and there's never like the consequences of his actions are just never, they're not there.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit.
I thought this could serve as an indictment on our values, but instead it inadvertently becomes an even bigger indictment because we enjoy the film.
Yeah. That's the most true and damning thing I think you could probably say about this piece. And with all that said, would you suggest that an audience member looking to go to the movies goes and see this film? Because here's the deal, and this is what sucks, and this is why I'm a hypocrite. Yeah, right now in the cinematic landscape currently, because I haven't seen Blade Runner yet, I don't know if it's
given what else is out in the box office now.
I'd be like, go see it.
I mean, it was fun to watch.
Yeah, which is so fucked up for all of us.
We hate ourselves.
Oh, yay. Well, this has been the only podcast about the damaging psyche of growing up in the United States through the 80s and beyond. No, this has been the only podcast about the film American Made.
Not the character from The Tick, which I was disappointed about.
Not there. Not present.
Yeah.
Great showing at Comic-Con. They had the giant chick thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was very good.
Fantastic.
Anyway, Red, Anastasia, thank you so much for coming and filling one each of Shahir's very large shoes. And you know what they say about a New Zealand man with big shoes.
They do. He's
got big shoes.
Yeah.
Yes, he has huge shoes. Red, when you are not basically comically talking about footwear that the person who normally sits in that chair would be wearing, where can folks find you?
On the limited Twitter sphere at Crankshaft59. That's where I am.
All right. And Anastasia, when you are not watching and hoping that young or old Tom Cruise makes a young Tom Cruise mistake, where can folks find you?
At movementhealingarts.com.
All right. And you can find me at MatthewKroll.com. That's MatthewKroll.com for my life and works. Or you can find me at Skeletor, the number 4 PREZ on Instagram, or Emperor MSK on Twitter. Also, please email us in your thoughts of American Made or any of the weird ass tangential nonsense we talked about, which actually, side note, I don't think was actually nonsense. No. You could email us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. I'm always jealous of YouTube at this point because I can't just be like, write us in the comments.
Yeah. Just click down below.
Just click down below. Hit subscribe. You can still hit subscribe. There's a subscribe button on most podcast apps.
Button,
subscribe to us. That would be nice.
You are the gringo that delivers.
Apparently, well, okay. We've released a podcast every week for about 2 years now.
Yeah.
I guess I am.
Yeah.
Wow. Never before have I felt worse about that.
Let's kill this man.
Let's kill it. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
We'll see you next week. Thank you both.